up for no reason. Yeah, nigga. Yeah.
You move. I'm gonna fucking break your head.
Out of my face, it's illegal. No, it's not illegal. No, it's not illegal. No, it's not illegal. Get the fuck out of here.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Ash with CopWatch Media. Welcome to our next episode of the CopWatch Media podcast. I'm here again with our special guest host, Elsa. Let the people know who you are, Elsa.
Hi, I'm Elsa Eli, comedian, actor, motivational speaker, instructor, all-around wild child.
Word, wild child, word. So yeah, let's just get right into it, I guess. First, we'll start with stories that were on CopWatch Media. Our most recent piece was a piece by a guest writer from Puerto Rico named Carlos Barrios Polanco, and he wrote a piece basically on the Puerto Rican police, how they use their militarized tactics to help facilitate the privatization of public property, especially around La Fortaleza, which is basically in San Juan, which is basically the Puerto Rican White House. The governor's mansion,
right,
and on the beaches, which are by law supposed to be public property in Puerto Rico, but the cops still put up barriers to kind of keep Puerto Ricans out of Old San Juan, and keep Puerto Ricans out of their own beaches. And so yeah, one example that Carlos brings up is these orange barricades that you see them here in New York, obviously too.
Those Jersey barriers.
Yeah.
The ones they fill with like water and rocks and stuff.
So yeah, whenever there's protests outside of La Fortaleza in Old San Juan, which happens pretty regularly, especially with horrible governors and with Luma, the electrical company, the cops will put up a barricade to keep Puerto Ricans out, but also the people they let in is also of note because they only let in tourists. There's a lot of Airbnbs around that neighborhood, and so they keep actual Puerto Ricans out, but they let some white tourists in whenever they want.
Access to the beaches and
basically,
access to okay. Well, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll keep the folks that live here out. And cater to the tourists, cater to the money, to the white people, to the rich, the powerful. Yeah, very, very similar to things that I've heard and seen around here. So
yeah, I wanted to talk about that a little bit. Yeah, it happens here in New York as well too. I mean, if you're a native New Yorker, if you're in certain parts of Manhattan or certain parts of Brooklyn, and you're not a gentrifier, you'll get treated a certain way. Whereas if you're a native New Yorker, cops kind of look at you with suspicion here, and you're gonna rob the white people, basically.
Well, I've even heard that people don't commit crime in the same way now because there's white people in the neighborhood, right, that have increased the police presence. So it's very analogous. We can draw that parallel to what's happening in Puerto Rico to here, and obviously connect and link that to colonialism.
Exactly, yeah.
And who's allowed to use the natural resources.
Yeah, exactly. Well, at least we don't have to deal with the beaches. Well, the beaches are already privatized.
We don't get me started on Reese Beach and making Reese Beach family friendly continuously making the area where
police state,
area where the black and brown and the queer and trans community occupy that part of the beach, and making that just more and more over policed. It's still an open beach, and that's the thing. What I glean is what's going on in Puerto Rico is yes, it's still a public beach, but the increased police presence is what makes it blocked off. So yeah, it's still probably a public beach or whatever, but we'll increase the police presence and arrest who we need to arrest and keep out who we need to keep out.
And one last interesting thing I saw in the article was when people try to put up fencing in one of the beaches, Cueva de Indio, protesters went straight up and tore it down, and and they didn't put it back up. So kind of a lesson to the viewers that direct action gets the goods. If they're trying to privatize public space, don't let them, basically. And you can fight back. There are ways to fight back. So I guess the next story, let's go to in the news in the streets section of the podcast. The first story I want to talk about is recently there is 2 men who were wrongly convicted of murdering Malcolm X. They've been awarded $26 million by the city of New York. Their names are Muhammad Aziz and Khalil Islam. But if you think, oh, okay, they're getting $26 million, isn't that great? It's not as great as it sounds, because they spent 2 decades locked up, both these guys. They were only released on parole in the 80s. What was discovered was that the prosecutors, the FBI, and the NYPD withheld evidence that could have exonerated both of these men. So that's why they're getting $26 million. But they have to split the $26 million.
I was just about to say, is it 26 each or 26 split?
They have to split the $26 million. And one of the men, Aziz, is 84 years old. The other man, Khalil Islam, is dead. He died in 2009. So his estate is getting that half of the money. Aziz was released in 1985. Islam was released in 1987. The convictions were overturned finally last November after a 2-year investigation by former Manhattan DA Cy Vance, who was also a scumbag himself, though.
Right.
So yeah, it's not as sweet as it sounds.
No, once you get into these details here, okay, because here's the thing: they were locked up for over 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then now they've been released for over 20 years.
They were released in the 80s.
In the 80s, okay.
Only last November were the convictions finally overturned.
Okay, only just now is it off the record.
Yeah.
Only just now are they getting this 26 that they have to split.
One of them's not even getting it.
And one of them's not really even technically getting it.
Yeah.
That they have to split. So, I mean, if you were to say that the 26 million is for the time that they were locked up, what about this rest of this other time that they were released and nothing?
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, there is no dollar amount. Yeah. There is no dollar amount. Mm-hmm. But if we were going to put a dollar amount, 27, isn't it? 27 million, isn't it? If we were going to put a dollar amount. I don't think there is one.
And I'll read from the Gothamist article. At a press conference following the exoneration of the 2 men last year, Vance cited reports revealing that on orders from director J. Edgar Hoover himself, the FBI ordered multiple witnesses not to tell police or prosecutors that they were, in fact, FBI informants. There was no physical evidence linking either man to the ballroom, and witnesses said both were at home at the time of the shooting. So it's amazing how, like, the FBI, the NYPD, and the prosecutors just let these 2 guys who, like, a lot of evidence, a lot of evidence said they weren't connected to the killing of Malcolm X, but NYPD and FBI still let these guys rot in a cell for decades.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, a lot of these times the police will brag about, like, you know, we're trying to find the people who murdered Malcolm X and all these freedom fighters. We're trying to, you know, bring people to justice, when they're really not. I mean, they're just throwing anybody in a cage and proclaiming that, you know, they solved the case. The case has been solved.
Man, that just makes me sad.
Yeah.
That just makes me really sad.
But it also implicates them in the murder of Malcolm X too.
Obviously,
you know?
Obviously, because the whole, we'll just put anybody in jail just to be like, it's done and it's done with, and please stop asking me questions. Look, I did something, right?
Yeah.
All right.
So let's go to the next story about there's a guy. An NYPD news, related NYPD news. There's a cop named Joel Ritriol. He was recently hit with departmental charges for kicking a woman in the head during an FTP4 protest in the Bronx in 2020.
Right.
In June 4th. The thing is, like, the Daily News article about this story was really bad. It was really horrible.
Surprise.
First of all, the Daily News got the date wrong. The protest happened in June 4th, not June 14th. And also they repeated a whole lot of propaganda that the NYPD said at the time to justify the kettling and the brutality against the protesters at the time. So they repeated Dermot Shea's allegation that, you know, there were outside agitators at FTP4. But when that protest was put together by community organizers.
But even still, though, if it were some outside agitators, is that okay to kick people in the head?
Yeah.
I mean, first off, outside agitators is a coded word. It kind of means a whole bunch of things and nothing at the same time. But even still, people came from another community to be outraged or whatever, and you kick those people in the head too. Like, you know, what is it better if it was some outside agitators or people from the neighborhood? Do we kick people in the head?
And then also, well, according to the Daily News article, this is what the cop said, Joel Wittriel. He said, quote, "There's a difference between chaos and doing something on purpose," Wittriel explained. "Nothing was done on purpose. I did not kick her on purpose, and I don't believe I kicked her at all," he said. But then after that it says, "But the Civilian Complaint Review Board substantiated abuse of force charges against Wittriel for assaulting the woman, identified as Alexandra Huber, while she was down on the ground. Body cam footage and medical reports all conclude Wittriel kicked Huber while she was being subdued for not complying with former Mayor de Blasio's 8 p.m. curfew order," CCRB officials said. "The most damning piece of evidence was the body-worn camera footage from other officers, which shows Wittriel stomping on the ground, followed by a woman's scream," Nicole Jardim of the CCRB's Administrative Prosecution Unit said. The footage actually doesn't show Huber getting hit, but you can see him stomping and then a woman screaming. So.
Okay. Well, you know what? I would say the same thing I tell my fucking kindergartners, right? If you did something and you didn't mean it, you still gotta apologize, right? Like, hey, your foot came in contact with someone's head. I don't care if you meant it or not. You hit someone in the head.
Yeah.
That's basic stuff. Man. Yeah, no, you most likely, obviously, you meant to kick her in the head, but if you didn't, there should still be a consequence for that, right? You were so reckless with your goddamn foot.
Well, the thing is, the article tries to kind of like, you know, muddy the waters when it comes to like what exactly happened at this.
Yeah.
So I don't know if people remember, like in FTP4, hundreds of protesters marched in the Bronx or chanting, you know, "fuck the police" and stuff like that. And at one point, they got to a certain corner across the street from the Millbrook Projects, and the cops kettled them right before the 8 p.m. curfew, right like minutes before. So the cops surrounded all these protesters, kettled the whole protest, and then waited till right after the curfew, and then proceeded to start beating everybody. So this was straight up an attack by cops on a group of protesters. But this cop is trying to make it seem like, oh, there was chaos going around everywhere. Everyone was fighting with each other. And so like anything could have happened. I don't remember kicking her. And also at one point in the article, the cop Joel Wittriel says, you know, I got maced at one point, and you know, people were throwing oil and urine and stuff like that, which was a bullshit. And as far as the macing allegations, you know, are concerned, the only people who were macing people were the cops.
Right.
So if that cop got maced, it was by one of his fellow cops,
sure,
not the woman
blowback.
he stomped and stuff. So
yeah.
So yeah, and it's just the Daily News article also repeated, you know, Dermot Shea's allegations that, you know, they found a van with protesters hours before that had a gun and gasoline or something like that. This was later revealed to be a lie. By Human Rights Watch report revealed this to be a lie. That what happened was that, you know, one of those people were arrested the night before, had nothing to do with the protest, and then another one was this couple who were having an argument or whatever. And I think one of them had a gun, and they got arrested hours before the protest.
Also
even
nothing.
happened.
Also unrelated.
Also unrelated to the protest itself. So, but the Daily News still, in this recent article, still repeating those lies,
right,
to this day, even though it's 2 years past. So.
Moral of the story: cops lie.
And the newspapers will lie for
and
them.
The newspapers
even after the lies get debunked.
Yeah.
And in years after the fact, too. So, yeah. I guess next story we're going to go to, there's this great video going around of comrades in Greece throwing a whole bunch of Molotovs at cops outside of the Greek parliament the other day.
Yeah, Europe gets down. Is it just because Europe's older than us?
for some reason in Greece and in Turkey and
Greece, Turkey, and France, they be getting
France,
down.
France, not so much England. I feel like
England doesn't get down. They a lot more tea.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot more tea. Maybe a lot more writing to Parliament.
Yeah,
I feel like that's a little. I feel like that's even more what our government wants to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
More stuffy, more procedural or whatever. But other places in Europe, they get down. Is it also because England's an island? Maybe it's because it's not like connected.
Yeah,
Britain's not like connected physically to the rest of Europe.
Yeah, but I don't know if viewers will see this video. We'll attach it to the podcast, obviously.
Inspiration.
Yeah, you see a group of cops basically standing outside the Greek Parliament, and then you see the comrades in black come
#goals
and throw Molotov after Molotov, just raining down on these cops. Really getting down, and really some inspirational stuff. So basically what was happening was there was the unions in Greece called for a 24-hour strike on Wednesday, November 9th. Public and some private sector workers went on strike to demand higher wages and social protection for everybody. In Athens, protesters threw Molotovs at the cops outside the Greek Parliament. And in Thessaloniki, another city in Greece, protesters went in on the cops. One cop got injured in Athens. 2 people were arrested in Athens, and 8 people were arrested in Thessaloniki. So basically, the Greeks do everything better than us when it comes to protests, it seems like. They had public unions call a 24-hour strike, and during the strike...
In 24 hours,
they had
it's
people,
ready.
They had thrown raining
It's
Molotovs.
up. It's all the way up.
And also from the Washington Post article, in Greece's capital on Wednesday, no buses or trolleys were running, while only one of the 3 subway lines was operating, running a limited service only in the afternoon. Flight traffic controllers had been due to participate in the strike with a 6-hour work stoppage, but had to reverse that decision late Tuesday after a court deemed their participation illegal. However, airlines had already canceled dozens of flights, which they could not all reschedule at the last minute. Passengers arrived at Athens International Airport had extremely limited options to get into town with no bus, regular taxi, subway, or suburban railway services available. Crowds gathered at car rental agencies while others tried to leave on intercity buses, which were the only form of public transport still running. So the Greek workers shut the shit down.
Solidarity.
And threw Molotovs at the cops. And we need to get that.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's how it works. And I tell people there are so many different ways, right? If you're not the Molotov guy, good. That's fine. You're not the Molotov guy, but maybe you don't drive your bus today. Like get get in where you fit in. And so there are so many different ways to be revolutionary. We all are not gonna be Molotov guy. In fact, I don't want us all to be, because someone's
gonna fuck up.
Well, no, someone's got to throw the Molotovs, and someo's got to not drive the bus the next day too. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Someone's got to toss it up with the police, and someone's got to, you know what I'm saying? I'm not opening the cafe today, you know? So that's the type of across the board sort of solidarity. It's like I need my things, but also I recognize your shit too, you know? So I'm not gonna go to work in solidarity with you. Yeah. All right. And I think if we could all get a little more of that vibe going, we almost had it. Yeah, we almost had it in 2020.
Exactly. Yeah. What do you think stops us from getting that vibe?
I explained that to somebody. They asked me, we're like, what if this white guy next to you isn't out here for Black Lives Matter? I was like, well, did he lose his job? Like, that's also just as shitty. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we don't necessarily have to be 100% on the same thing, as long as we are all pointed in the same direction. What stops us? I think. What do I think stops us from that?
Yeah.
That question right there. Well, what if he's not out here for that?
Yeah.
Right. Again, I don't specifically need. We are all angry at the same thing. When you start to peel it back, right? Like, maybe you're not specifically today in this moment out here for Black Lives Matter. Here's the other thing: you're out here, so somebody out here is going to give you the education. You're going to figure it out in a minute anyway. But you mad? You mad? I'm mad too. Let me tell you why. Me and you was both mad at the same motherfucker. Right? So I think we try to gatekeep our lanes. Yeah. Right? Or is like, you not doing it revolutionary enough. Just like I said, there's a bunch of different ways. So I think if we all, I think once we start to figure out and understand that everything is sort of connected, and all you guys to do is just pull at your thread where you at, and it's gonna, if I'm pulling at my thread and you pulling at your thread, then it'll all unravel eventually. But we just gotta, I think there's a stamina issue that we don't see the thing that we want right away. I think there's that. I think we gatekeep a little too much amongst ourselves. And it's just really hard to pull back and see the bigger picture. That's it.
And plus, our unions are like bootlickers too, here, especially here in New York too. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, especially the big unions. I mean, yeah.
And maybe also is like I said, maybe we're just not old enough, right? Like Europeans in Europe and other parts of the world are old. America is a young country in the grand scheme of things. We are still figuring shit out, and we didn't, and then we was like, founded on like, atrocities.
Yeah. And also, but also Greece, only a few decades ago, had like literal Nazi occupation and stuff like that. So like a lot of it's
still fresh too.
Yeah, a lot of places like Chile and Greece had like literal fascism not too long ago,
and it's still fresh for them.
And it's still fresh in their mind. And Molotovs are like a good solution to fascism.
It was literally just right there. I could just go right back.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so next story we're gonna talk about a cop named Jody Green. So Jody Green was a sheriff in Columbus County, North Carolina. He recently got caught on audio by a guy named Jason, another cop named Jason Souls. So basically, what happened was there was information leaked to two former members of the police force, both of whom were black. And Jody Green, who was the sheriff, didn't like that this information was leaked to these two black cops. So he got caught on audio by a guy named Jason Souls, another cop, saying, "I'm sick of these black bastards.
Okay.
I'm going to clean house and be done with it."
Yeah, okay.
The audio got released, and then this made Jody Green have to resign from his term as
lose your job.
sheriff. But the thing is, he still ran for re-election, Jody Green, and he ran for re-election against the cop who caught him on audio.
Right, because I was going to say unopposed, but no, not unopposed.
So the guy who caught him on audio and released the audio, another cop, ran against him for a sheriff. But Jody Green, this racist cop, still won re-election in North Carolina, even after this audio came out. So, yeah, tell me your thoughts about this.
My thoughts?
Yeah.
It's in North Carolina? Naturally.
Yeah, exactly.
My thoughts naturally.
Yeah.
The only thing north about North Carolina is the word north, right? It's North Carolina is firmly south, and this just fits into what the stereotype, the caricature of what a sheriff is or would be. Right. I do think it's a little surprise. It's like only just a little surprising. I think. I don't think it's just a little surprising, but are racists going racist? And that feels, I don't know what people's actual reasoning is besides racist going racist, but I feel like you got to say, I am a racist. You have to say like the N-word. You have to like be caught with your hand in the KKK pot or something for people to be like, that's racist. Because I can see how people might write off what he said as maybe just some like sort of job frustration or whatever. Or like, that's not racist. Like,
One of the quotes is literally, "Every black that I know, you need to fire him to start with. He's a snake."
Never mind. Okay, sorry.
In the 2019 phone call, Green referred to multiple black employees as bastards and indicated he planned to fire them for supposedly undermining him, according to a petition filed by the local DA's office.
I don't know. I could just see all I'm saying is I could just see whatever backflips and mental gymnastics it would take for a white person to... Well, you don't have to do any mental gymnastics. The racism loves some more racism, but if you were trying to explain it away as not, I can just see the backflips. And
so yeah. Also, according to the article, though he had stepped down, Green was still eligible to appear on the ballot. Just hours after his resignation, he posted on Facebook that he never intended to end his campaign.
Right.
Quote, "Due to my love for Columbus County and to spare my fellow citizens along with my family and friends the ordeal and spectacle of a long trial,
Jesus.
I resigned as sheriff of Columbus County for the term elected in November 2018, effective this morning. The allegations are not true. They were politically motivated. I'm still running for sheriff of Columbus County in the November 8th, 2022 election. I'm running to make Columbus County better and safer for all our citizens.
Okay.
And also,
maybe he thinks
the local Republican Party obviously did not back away from supporting him.
They didn't.
No, they did not. They the chairman of the Columbus County Republican Party told a local news station at the time that the local GOP was not calling for Green to withdraw from the election and that the party planned for him to, quote, win and win big.
Bitch. You know, I low-key kind of respect that, though. Like, yeah, the fuck I am. I always said...
And what?
And what?
We racist.
And we winning.
What? Yeah.
I always said that I would just prefer my racists to be openly racist. You know, none of that hidden racism stuff. So, I don't know. Yeah. Fuck, dude. It sucks hardcore, but there's something to be... there's something to be... If you know what? If more leftists and more socialist people were just like, yes, and I am...
Yeah,
I'm
a far lefty. Yeah,
I honestly
I'm a radical.
think
I want to destroy capitalism in the state.
There is a lot to take from this playbook. Actually, honestly, it's just like just say who the fuck you are.
Say it with your chest.
Just say it with your chest, little nigga.
The fascists say it with their chest. You know. So
I mean, because that's the thing. That's my one problem. I think with Democrats so much. Yeah. Right, or those of us on the left or whatever, is that while we're out here trying to like read the instruction booklet, Republicans have already flipped over the game board and set the table on fire. We're like, but the rules, you know, and I'm just like, fuck. Maybe we don't need but just the rules right now, exactly, you know. So
yeah, Jody Green defeated Souls. Reminder. The guy who leaked the fucking audio.
He lost.
He lost against this racist
I don't know, y'all.
dude.
Maybe fuck the high road for a while.
He lost by,
just go mask off.
He lost by 1,576 votes.
That's not even a big margin.
Or 54% of the total ballot count. So Green's win will be certified by the Columbus County Board of Elections on November 18th. Green posted a Facebook status Tuesday night that said only, "Thank you all."
I don't know, man. I think the lesson to take away from here is just go mask off, yo. Just go mask off, whatever it is. Don't hide what you're doing because they don't care. So anyway,
next story. Next story is about November 6th on Sunday. There was a 48-year-old man named Kenneth Vineyard in Beaver County, Pennsylvania. So Kenneth Vineyard basically saw a man get shot in a Walmart parking lot. And tried to help this man. He went over to give aid to this man. And while he was trying to give aid to this man, an off-duty cop who didn't announce himself came on the scene, pushed Vineyard off the victim, the shooting victim, pushed Vineyard so hard to the ground that Vineyard hit his head on the pavement and then, got hurt really bad and days later died. And then only then did the cop finally identify himself as a cop.
Okay.
Basically, cop killed a guy who was trying to save a real hero in the parking lot of a Walmart.
Damn, this sounds like another story I've heard.
Yeah.
R.I.P. And this is also another reason why people hesitate to help in these sort of situations or whatever. You don't know when a cop is gonna just snap off, right? And I tell people all the time, whenever you deal with a police officer, you have to treat them like a wild deer. Okay. There are gonna be times when you get a deer that's nice and sweet and gentle, and it's gonna eat out of your hand, and it's a nice, helpful police officer. There's gonna be times where the interaction starts off okay and then turns crazy, and then there's sometimes where the deer is just rabid. And you never know which one you're gonna get, and it sucks that this man was trying to help, and this officer was unannounced, not in uniform, so he doesn't know who just attacked him. He doesn't know who just pushed him.
Right? And my mistake, he didn't die days later. He died hours later after the fall.
He hit his head.
Yeah, he hit his head on the pavement.
Yeesh. What a way to go.
From the article from WPXI. State police have confirmed they are investigating the death.
Right.
But Channel 11 but told Channel 11 it's early and they do not have any further details to release.
Which means nothing is going to happen to this
Meantime, the
police
family
officer.
wants answers and for this officer to be charged in the death of their loved
Absolutely
one.
not going to happen.
So yeah, the man's lawyer and his family's lawyer said, quote, "On behalf of his fiance and his family, I am demanding action. This officer should be immediately suspended pending the outcome of this investigation. But the facts, as I've been told, he should be arrested and charged with manslaughter at the very least."
At the very least. Yeah, at the very least.
So yeah, I mean, the family set up a GoFundMe, unfortunately, but they've lost their loved one, and like I said, the guy was literally just trying to save a life.
Help.
And like I said, you know, the cops aren't there to help you. You know, oftentimes, in this time specifically,
Well,
the people who are actually helping will be hurt by the cops.
I would love to hear the cop's reasoning too, though. Did he think that the man who was trying to help was the assailant? Because that to me would be about the only reason why I wouldn't understand, but I would see why he would push this man so forcefully.
Yeah.
You know, unless you thought he was the assailant, why would you not try to assist the assister?
Yeah.
Right? Or are you trying to, do you need all that glory for yourself or something? That's like the only way I would understand that this cop would come in that hot, is if he thought that that man was the assailant. Otherwise you jump in there to assist, right? You're a first responder.
Yeah.
So you need to be helping this person help. I don't get it. Yeah. I don't get it. I would love to hear what this officer's explanation is. Of course, we probably won't get it.
Won't get it. Yeah.
We probably won't get it, or it'll be some bullshit. If they don't, this is my pattern. If the police don't act swiftly with consequences, they not. Mm-hmm. If they don't act swiftly with consequences, the odds are they are not going to. So. Because they're still investigating and there's still questions out there or whatever, they'll use that time to let the dust settle and let people's attention move on as it naturally will.
Let it die down.
Let it die down, and then nothing will happen. So if nothing happens quickly, nothing's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm. So once again, the cops don't help you. They're not here to help you. Oftentimes, they'll hurt the person who is trying to help you.
Yeah.
Remember that. So next story, there's a video that kind of went viral online of a blind man in northern Florida who was walking down the street on Halloween.
Hi there.
Hey.
What's this in your back pocket? I just saw you walking it.
It's a navigational age. What's the problem? You a tyrant?
Yeah, I am actually. What's your name and date of birth?
I don't have to give that unless
Yes,
I'm
sir.
here.
I was investigating.
You have reasonable.
Do you want me to put you in handcuffs right now? Yes, sir, I do.
What is your suspicion?
It looks like you're carrying a gun in your back pocket. I'm stopping to make sure you're carrying it properly. You don't
have you
to...
ensured that it's not a firearm?
No, you keep turning so I can't see it. You don't have to be a dick to me.
Well, you're being one to me.
No, sir. I'm doing my job.
Am I detained?
Yeah, you are. What's your name and date of birth?
It does not matter.
Yes, sir, it does.
Do you have a crime?
Would you like me
Call
to
your
put you in?
supervisor,
He's right
please.
here.
All right.
You don't.
Sir, what's the stop you for? For a walking stick.
So,
And it could look like a weapon. She asked you to present it, okay? Now she's asking me for ID. Okay. I don't need the ID unless there's reasonable articulated suspicion that I have committed a crime, am committing a crime, or about to do a crime. Sir, and her suspicion was that you were armed, okay? And she's asking you for your ID. Well, now she has verified that I am not armed. Okay. So there is no problem. Do you have your ID or not? I do have my ID, but you don't need it. Okay. Okay. You deserve it.
777 Whiskey Mike detained. I don't know where his wallet is.
Where's your wallet at, sir? I don't have a wallet on me.
Okay, where's your ID?
Where's your ID at? Pocket. Which pocket? You are not allowed to search me.
It's in this pocket.
think he was walking home from jury duty, and a cop basically stopped the blind man and accused him of having a gun on him when it was actually his cane. And then in the video, you can see the man shows the cop it's his cane, but the woman cop still like kind of makes a big deal out of it. A male officer comes, who's I guess her superior, and he just continues harassing this blind man. They put him in cuffs, and you know, they try to get his ID. He refused to show his ID because he said, the blind man was saying, no, I haven't committed any crime.
Right.
I didn't do anything wrong. The man's name is, by the way, James Hodges. According to the Washington Post article, even though she, the cop who stopped him, quickly learned he wasn't armed, the encounter escalated. James Hodges refused to give the deputy his ID, and she handcuffed him with the help of her sergeant. Still, after making sure Hodges had no outstanding warrants for his arrest, the deputy seemed like she was about to let him go. Quote, "All right, Mr. Hodges," Columbia County Sheriff's Deputy James Goad said, according to body cam footage of the incident. Was that hard? With his hands cuffed behind his back, Hodges turns his head toward her. "It's going to be. I want your name and badge number." Her supervisor, Sergeant Randy Harrison, had enough. "You know what? Put him in jail for resisting."
Yeah. Yeah. I would argue that the most dangerous police officer is an embarrassed or humiliated police officer.
Yeah.
They want to flex their power, and if you don't, or if they realize they're wrong, then now we got to go into face save mode, right? And this is typical, actually, of everyone, right? But if you got a badge and some power, right? But yeah, if you're embarrassed or you made a mistake or whatever, a lot of us, rather than just say sorry and move on with their shit, I got to go in face save mode, which now it means I gotta make it hard for you. You made it hard for me. Now I got to make it hard for you. So,
and cops love making it hard for people.
Cops love making it hard for people. So we can argue all day if there was a legitimate stop or not. If she really legitimately thought there was a weapon or not, we can argue that, right?
But he showed her the damn
But once
cane.
we realize it's not,
he showed her the damn cane,
that should have been the end of it.
Yeah.
But she's embarrassed.
Yeah.
There's another officer here, maybe her superior. We got to go into face save mode. So now we got to go all the way into all this rigmarole or whatever. And as he should, nope, I need your badge number.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
Well, that ultimate disrespect.
The biggest crime you could commit.
Ultimate disrespect. So we got to go into double time on face save mode. So I say all that to say, don't not do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Don't not do that. But just know, I tell people when I do my my CopWatch, there's two things you got to be careful of: is embarrassing the police officer, and if they can see something is up with you. If you are visibly disabled, if you are visibly impaired somehow, if you are some sort of minority, and they can tell that. That's where they're going to jump on.
And, well, unfortunately, he was locked up and kept in a cell for 26 hours.
Jesus.
That morning, Hodges, 61, was charged with resisting an officer without violence, a misdemeanor.
How, Sway?
And taken to the Columbia County Jail. On Monday, a prosecutor dismissed the case against him, as they should have. And then Columbia County Sheriff Mark Hunter has since apologized to Hodges, calling his arrest, quote, unacceptable, while announcing that he'd punish both employees and require they go through remedial civil rights training. That's the punishment, I guess. So whenever these cops do some fuck shit, their punishment is going through some extra training, which they'll probably get paid for anyway. To
I have a really, really simple way we can actually curb police violence and misconduct. Just start making them pay for it.
Yeah.
Have that shit just come out of your check somewhere. Just every time. Now, just I bet you, because here's the thing: we can't start racism, right? I really can't. I really cannot change the way you feel in your heart. Yeah. Right. But I can affect your pockets, and that'll affect the way you behave. It sure as hell will. Canceling works. Also, there's ways we can do this. Taking a class ain't really it, B. Taking a class that you're gonna get paid for.
Yeah, exactly.
Ain't really, because I tell you what,
about you should be nice to black people
A,
sometimes.
A,
That's
B,
the
if my
class.
job is to walk around, stand around all day, be on alert all day, you tell me I could take a couple of days of a class and get paid the same.
And that's my punishment.
Oh, yeah.
That's my punishment. Yeah.
Oh, that is not a deterrent.
Yeah, I mean, and like before with the Joel Whitrill NYPD cop story,
Yeah.
he's facing departmental charges, but the most punishment he'll get from these charges is 20 vacation days he'll lose.
Yeah.
This is the type of fuck shit punishments
That is
cops
not
get
a deterrent.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so they lose vacation days and they're made to do more training.
Yeah.
And then the cops can come at the end of the year, at the end of fiscal year, and say, we need more money so we can do these trainings.
Yeah, yeah.
And that'll keep cops accountable. And so then we keep going through and we hear this as a reform from liberals every time something bad happens to when it comes to cops. They need better training, more training and stuff like that.
I don't know.
And
what type
works.
of training does it need? You need not to kick a bitch in the head.
Yeah, exactly,
I don't know.
yeah.
We again, that's shit we learn in kindergarten.
So don't expect these cops to punish each other for fucking you up, or for treating you like shit. They'll lock you up for having a cane.
Have a cane and having a mouth.
Cane. This was a white man too.
Yeah. I say this. This is another thing I say all the time. Yeah. They focus on black and brown folks.
Yeah.
But you think it don't be you because you white. You got the complexion for protection. But if you step out of line, if you say some shit they don't like, you show up. I'm trying to tell you, you can be a racist white person too,
and they'll still come for you.
And they still will. It's not. It's like you don't got enough money. Is all I ever be saying.
Exactly. Yeah.
You don't got enough money. You are not in positions of power enough to avoid this. If they want you. Exactly. I tell white people all the time, if they want you, you got.
Yeah.
So, and also that's another reason why a lot of white people get locked up real quick, because they think they can mouth off.
yeah.
Because they've mouthed off in other situations.
They can mouth off more than other people.
They can mouth off more than other people, but hey... It's still a cop.
Yeah, still the biggest crime is disrespecting a cop.
It's still a cop, and you still can't humiliate them, okay?
So, but, this white man basically had to, he got out of jail or whatever, and he had to request the video for himself.
Right.
And that's when the body cam video got released, and then that's when the uproar happened, and then then did the cops get embarrassed and have to apologize because they arrested a blind white man for having a cane.
I wonder what that sounds like. So, George Floyd. Yeah. Nobody's gonna do anything until the video come out. Which just again, I get it. Please and thank you for punishing these officers or whatever. But that was not the plan.
Yeah.
Y'all know that was not the plan. And y'all know if y'all got the body cam footage and y'all turn the body cam footage over, that means y'all watched this already.
Yeah.
Right? Y'all did watch this already. It wasn't like somebody else had the video. Y'all watched this already. Formulated what y'all was going to do, which was nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And then the video comes out. I was like, oh, no, we don't like this.
We got to do this. We got to send them to training. We got to do something. Send them to training. Okay, next story. I want to talk about, there's a video that came out not too long ago of Border Patrol in El Paso shooting projectiles, which they claim were pepper balls, at Venezuelan migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border. According to an El Paso Times article, Border Patrol has been expelling Venezuelan migrants to Mexico since mid-October, and many have found themselves stuck in limbo in border cities. In Juarez, dozens have been sleeping on the south banks of the Rio Grande, hoping for a change in U.S. policy. A video captured by the El Paso Times on October 31st, so on Halloween, shows dozens of Border Patrol agents and support personnel forming a line along the border near the Loop 375 overpass south of Chihuahuita neighborhood and the railroad tracks to push the migrant groups back to Mexico. One migrant waves a large Venezuelan flag as he retreats into the low-running river and can be seen jabbing the flagpole towards agents. Mm-hmm. Agents fired at least 3 shots of what Border Patrol spokesman Landon Hutchins initially called crowd control projectiles after agents were allegedly assaulted. Hutchins later confirmed agents used a, quote, less lethal force pepper ball launching system.
What the fuck?
Yeah. I'll say that again.
Launching.
They used a, quote, less lethal force pepper ball launching system.
Words.
Basically, a gun that shoots pepper balls.
Words. B.
The incident is under review by U.S. Customs and Border Protection Office of Professional Responsibility. Oh my goodness. That's the name of that unit.
Words. Too many.
The U.S. Customs and Border Protection Office of Professional Responsibility. That's who's investigating the Border Patrol. So they're investigating themselves. Quote, one of the protesters assaulted an agent with a flagpole, Hutchins said in an email statement. A second subject threw a rock, causing injury to an agent, at which times agents responded by initiating crowd control measures. So basically, Border Patrol is abusing migrants, being violent against migrants, trying to drive them back into Mexico. These are Venezuelan migrants, by the way. They're trying to shoot pepper balls at them.
They've already been through Mexico at this point.
They've been through a whole lot of shit already just to get to the U.S. border, U.S.-Mexico border, and they've probably gone through deserts, a whole bunch of horrible conditions. They get to the border, and instead of seeing, the Statue of Liberty or whatever, giving you poor, you're tired, or whatever, huddle masses, they get Border Patrol agents shooting pepper balls at them from launching
devices,
launching systems, aka guns, aka guns.
I want to. Okay, first off, we hear about stuff like this all the time.
Yeah.
I want to. Why are we calling it a launching system? Mm-hmm. Which makes it one of two. Makes me think of a couple of different things. This is not a gun. Mm-hmm. And it's some sort of mortar device? Mm-hmm. What is a launching system? Or why are we trying to obscure the word gun?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
It's one of two things. Either you're doing something that's not a gun, or why are we obscuring gun?
A launching system. It's a launching system. It's a pepper ball launching system. Yeah, exactly. Like,
that's the story. I want to discuss that.
Next time you get caught with a gun, say it's not really a gun. It's a bullet launching system.
It's a metal projectile. A metal projectile launching system.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're not even licensed to. You're not even licensed to even look at this.
Yeah. You shouldn't be arresting me. It's not gun possession.
I'm an engineer.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to see can we Google what that even looks like? I bet you it's a gun.
It's a gun.
It's a gun. I know it's a gun. I just want to see how gunny the gun is, because it's a gun. I know it is. I think they say that. Jokes aside. Uh-huh. They say projectile launching system because they don't really want you to draw the parallel that they used a gun on someone with a flagpole. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That they used a gun on someone with rocks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So instead of saying we shot pepper
migrants.
Balls.
Yeah, migrants.
Instead of saying we shot at migrants, we used a crowd control system, a launching system, which, definitely sort of smoke screens what happened there.
Just to give you a little illustration of who these migrants were, what kind of people they were, a group of migrants marched.
What kind of dirty migrants are they?
No,
tell me.
A group of migrants marched earlier Monday in Juarez, demanding an opportunity to cross the U.S. border. Uh-huh. They walked beneath an enormous cloth painted like a U.S. flag by U.S.-based artist Roberto Marquez, but with the words, "We the migrants built America" in the blue corner instead of stars. Then, so these are migrants under an American flag.
Okay.
Being as almost patriotic to this country they're trying to get into.
Sounds pretty fucking peaceful if you ask me.
These are the people that you'd think you'd want in your country or whatever, you're patriotic or whatever. These are the most kind of liberal dream of what a migrant should be. We're marching under an American flag as we come to the border or whatever. And then several dozen migrants later crossed the U.S. border waving a Venezuelan flag before they were repelled back into Mexico. Repelled back into Mexico. So imagine you got several dozen migrants marching with a cloth that looks like the U.S. flag with "We the migrants built America." They're trying to come into this country. They've gone through hell, gone through probably deserts, horrible conditions. Border Patrol sees this group of people, and their first thought is, let's use our pepper ball launching systems and get them and repel them back into Mexico, and run them back over the border.
Tale as old as time.
And so there was a video that gone around, obviously, of this happening. Peep
the video, I guess it'll be.
Peep the video will be with the we'll include that video. But also the same day, allegedly there were two migrants arrested by the FBI for allegedly This is according to a New York Post article. A U.S. Border Patrol agent was, quote, pushed, dragged, and punched by 2 migrants he caught crossing the southern border into Texas last week. The federal agent was responding to a report of migrants illegally crossing into the country on October 31st when he caught the 2 Venezuelan nationals near Escarate Park in El Paso around 6:45 a.m. He attempted to cuff the 2 men after they refused to comply to his commands, but they resisted arrest and fought back. I won't say the people's names, but so allegedly there were Border Patrol agents who were assaulted by these 2 migrants. But I'm thinking, like, after you shoot pepper balls at me and try to run me back, and like, what do you expect? Yeah, I might be a little angry at the boy.
I might be.
So this is an FBI. Basically, the whole article is based off an FBI press release. Let's put that out there first. Basically, this is an attempt to demonize and smear these migrants crossing into the border and make it seem like, they kind of deserve these pepper balls getting shot at them because they fought back against the Border Patrol agents who were shooting the pepper balls at them.
Sure.
So, just want to make people know, aware of that these are like the most ideal kind of migrants, almost like waving an American flag trying to come into the country, and they're from Venezuela. So like, the U.S. government loves to demonize Venezuela. This is a communist hellhole dystopia that Maduro's oppressing his own people.
But even if that's
We need to allow these people into our country.
I was about to say, if that's the case,
so they can experience capitalism, the freedom of capitalism, or whatever.
If that's the case, we should be welcoming them,
but,
right?
Yeah, exactly. But for the Venezuelans out there, the gusanos who want to try to come to America, thinking that America's gonna love you, this is what happens when you try to come to America. You can come waving an American flag, they're still gonna shoot pepper balls at your ass, and tell you, welcome to capitalism, have fun, So the FBI said, quote, the men and the women of the U.S. Border Patrol work tirelessly to keep our borders safe. Assaults on Border Patrol agents or any other federal agents, officers, or task force officers will not be tolerated and will be addressed swiftly by our office so they can continue to carry out their sworn duty to protect our communities. Oh, my God. I don't even know where to begin when it comes to the idea of Border Patrol protecting our communities. I don't know if a while ago there was reports of, Border Patrol agents sabotage. There's jugs of water that are left in the desert.
I've heard about that. 4
migrants who are crossing into the border, so they don't die in the desert and don't die of thirst in the desert. And there were videos of Border Patrol
dumping them.
Yeah, dumping the waters so people will die in the desert. They're not protecting our communities.
It would make sense to me that you would want people to, if you were trying to protect people, if you were trying to save people, you would want people to at least arrive alive.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
I said, these are the Venezuelans that they say, are suffering under the boot of Maduro. They should come to America, experience capitalism, the wonders of capitalism, American democracy, blah, blah, blah. But when they do come, they get demonized by the FBI.
And you get seasoned.
For punching the Border Patrol officers who are shooting pepper balls at you. So, so next story, we got to talk about the elections, the midterm elections, especially the one here in New York. Lee Zeldin, the fascist candidate for governor, lost to Governor Kathy Hochul here in New York.
Hochul?
I say Hochul. I don't know. Hochul.
I guess.
And as everyone should know by now, Lee Zeldin campaign was basically shouting crime at the top of his lungs, screaming crime wherever he can get in front of a mic.
It sounds like Eric Adams.
And exactly. And then now a lot of the New York Democrats suffered in their races, and a lot of people are starting to point the finger at Eric Adams for validating the crime panic narrative that the Republicans ran on and stuff.
Well, yeah.
But Eric Adams is saying, no, it's not my fault. It's the fault of bail reform. He somehow found a way to blame bail reform.
It's always bail reform.
Yeah, exactly.
Does he not have another word or something?
Yeah. So
it can't be. Honestly, it cannot be this one thing, bruh.
Yeah.
It can't be this one. Even if you wanted to.
I'm not sure how.
Even if you wanted to blame it on the one thing.
Yeah.
Even if I wanted to believe it, I'd just be like, but it can't be. This whole complex issue can't be one thing.
Yeah.
It really can't be. But it's his own fault. It's his own fault for running on. I said it before. I said it again. Eric Adams ran on 2 exact platform planks: crime, crimey, crime, and COVID's over when I'm mayor. Yeah. So yeah, running on crime is a very Republican. It's a very white man thing to do. But also the statistics don't super even really bear it out.
Exactly.
For real.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really like line up with people's real reality and their lives.
And the facts on bail reform are the same way too.
Yeah.
I mean, study after study has shown that bail reform doesn't increase crime, that it doesn't make people get arrested more or anything like that. That it doesn't affect people's safety. The New York Post themselves in 2020 had an article debunking the lies about bail reform, but still, the New York Post continues to this day promoting lies about bail reform, even though they debunked it themselves in their own paper. Lee Zeldin ran hard on getting rid of bail reforms. As everyone, there's videos going around online of NYPD cops being very, very friendly with Lee Zeldin, shaking hands with him. And Lee Zeldin has also complimented Eric Adams, saying that he wants to work on bail reform with Eric Adams. He said that working on bail reform is a bipartisan issue because Eric Adams
is a Republican.
Yeah,
he is a Republican. Yeah, and I have a problem with his teeth. They're too big.
And so there's Lee Zeldin and Eric Adams basically agree on the crime panic narrative and on the solutions to the crime panic narrative, which is a bigger, more racist police state. Eric Adams tried to distance himself after getting all this. Eric Adams tried to distance himself from Lee Zeldin by saying, we don't agree on gun control issues, though. Okay. Eric Adams says he wants to arrest more people for gun control than Lee Zeldin. Lee Zeldin is a Republican, so obviously he has to give that, that's the whole spiel about, I believe in Second Amendment rights. But at the end of the day, Lee Zeldin also wants to arrest black and brown people for possessing guns at the end of the day. His whole crime panic, shtick has been this whole bunch of shootings in New York is so violent. So even on that issue where Eric Adams brings up a supposed difference between the two of them,
it's not that big of a difference.
It's not really a difference.
It's not that big of a difference.
It's a difference in form, but not in substance, basically.
And I will also just say, I'm not also 100% crazy about Hochul's politics either.
Yes, exactly.
But I will just say congrats, I guess, for being the first woman governor. I don't know. That's a thing.
Yeah,
I think that's a thing. Unfortunately, that's a thing because New York is definitely an older state. It is a little. That was a little surprising for me to find out, but hey, there we go.
One of the things that Lee Zeldin did in his crime panic ads is also he used footage of Saheed Vassell.
Yeah, no good.
And his family still, to the very last day, his family demanded that Lee Zeldin stop using that campaign ad. He never took it down or whatever. Lee Zeldin basically did an ad where he showed clips of people doing crimes allegedly. But one of the clips was a clip of Saheed Vassell, who was a mentally ill man in Brooklyn.
Who did not have a gun.
Who had a pipe in his hand, who didn't commit any crimes. And because he had a pipe in his hand that kind of looked like a gun, the NYPD SRG, the Strategic Response Group, ran up on him and shot him and killed him. And so Lee Zeldin tried to use a clip of Saheed Vassell trying to portray him as a violent criminal, when in fact, the only people who were violent in that case were the cops who killed Saheed Vassell. And like I said, his family, Saheed Vassell's family, demanded to the last day, to the very last minute, stop using this ad, and Lee Zeldin refused to stop using the ad. And then also
he lost.
He lost though, but he came closer. He came closer than he should have come. Definitely,
it was close.
But it was good to know that the crime panic didn't give us a fascist governor.
It's not gonna win. The crime panic, I think, is it wins sometimes, but especially with Eric Adams, he's trying to pivot away from that because you can't keep screaming crime. You're the mayor now.
Yeah,
you're the mayor. If crime, fix the crime. Yeah, you're the mayor now. The crime panic doesn't always, it might win you election. It's not going to win you re-election. You got to move on to something else.
And then also there was a piece by the New York Times that came out recently about a billionaire guy named Ronald Lauder from Estee Lauder, the heir to that fortune, who gave a whole lot of his money. A lot of Lee Zeldin's money came from this billionaire, this white man billionaire who's the heir to a cosmetics company, basically. And so this is a fascist who wants to run on, a racist crime narrative funded by billionaires. It's the most evil thing you can basically get in politics. Luckily he lost. And we have Kathy Hochul, who is basically Cuomo without the scandals, I like to say. But
I feel neither here nor there about
yeah, I know, but at least I guess we don't have like just outright fascism in the mayor's office and the governor's office now. That's the best we can hope for in New York.
I'll take it.
Exactly.
I'll take it.
But okay, so next we're gonna do some propaganda. We're gonna do propaganda watch. So first I want to talk about fentanyl. We have some fentanyl stories, and of course, the cops love their fentanyl stories, whatever. So in Bloomington, Vermont, there were cops spreading stories about something called gray death fentanyl, which they claim is resistant to Narcan.
Nothing's resistant to Narcan.
But so basically, long story short, these cops in Vermont were spreading the story about gray death fentanyl. It's typical drug war propaganda kind of stuff to like kind of scare you, whatever. And then they had to be kind of told very calmly and slowly, I guess, that like there aren't any opioids that are resistant to Narcan. This isn't a thing.
Yeah. Every few months, every year or so, there's a new fentanyl scare or whatever. And folks, no, like, please be wary, right? If you do drugs and fentanyl is in your orbit, please have your test kits, have your Narcan. But don't get scared of, candy fentanyl and gray.
That's another propaganda story that came out. Yeah, for Halloween.
Fentanyl or whatever. Carry your Narcan. There is nothing that is resistant to Narcan. They make up these stories so that when they catch people dealing drugs, when they catch people with these sort of things, they can justify harsher sentences, harsher treatment. But also what it does on the other hand is it makes users feel hopeless and feel like there's nothing I'm going to die of this. I'm going to, you know what I'm saying? Carry your Narcan. There's nothing resistant to Narcan. The one caveat is if you've overdosed several times, you actually might need more.
Yeah.
But gray fentanyl is. What do they figure out that it's just a mix of some? Yeah, it's the same shit.
Basically, so the police chief Booker Hodges said, "quote Gray death has been found in other parts of the country in recent years, but this was the first time it had been encountered in the city of Bloomington and possibly Minnesota. Quote Gray death is extremely disturbing to us," he added. There is no clear consensus of what combination of drugs make up gray death, and contrasting media reports seem to indicate it could be a loose slang term that was once used to refer to fentanyl and is now more frequently used to refer to combinations of fentanyl and carfentanil, a large game tranquilizer, and of the designer drug U47700. Whatever it is made of, gray death is not new. CNN first reported about it in 2017. Culp says she first started hearing it about in 2016. But, quote, Ryan Marino, who's a doctor who likes to debunk all these fentanyl lies that cops like to spread, argues that gray death is, quote, an urban myth in that it doesn't exist in the way law enforcement says it does. Mm-hmm. Quote, as a drug expert, I would be reluctant to give a press conference about my opinions on issues facing law enforcement. Yet law enforcement has no reluctance sharing their own imaginary drug expertise, Marino said.
Ooh.
So, it's bullshit. Cop bullshit, basically. Don't believe them. But also another story happened relating to fentanyl. So basically, cops in Batesville, Ohio, did a social media post claiming that they found a piece of candy from a kid's Halloween bag.
Right.
And the cops said that they tested it for fentanyl, and it tested positive for fentanyl methamphetamine, that this kid's candy supposedly tested positive. The cops then went to a local gas station, bought a random candy bar, tested it. That also came back positive.
Wow.
For meth and fentanyl. So obviously the cops realized, this might not be as reliable as we think it is.
Is it reliable?
But the thing is, the cops still released a social media post. There was still a few days of media coverage about candy testing positive for these drugs.
I want folks to understand that in the history of poisoned Halloween candy, there has only been 2 times that children have ingested that we know of, that children have ingested poison candy and it was poisoned by their parents.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Here's the thing: I know not a single drug dealer who would waste money putting their drugs in candy that they give away. I just want folks to just play the tape forward. Yeah. What would be that logic?
What's the end game?
What is the logic of doing that? I'm going to put drugs in and give it to kids who have no way of contacting me again to get more drugs, or am I trying to kill my users? Why would I want to kill people? I can't get no money back from that. Like, just 2 seconds of common sense would let you know that that's completely bogus way to operate.
The type of ridiculous kind of boomer Facebook post you see about this is they're trying to get, usually it's brought in by the immigrants, they'll claim,
trying to get the kids hooked.
They'll try to get the kids hooked on fentanil by giving them the candy.
But if I eat a fentanyl candy bar, how do I know it's fentanyl? It's fentanyl.
Yeah.
How would I know? I'm just sick. I just ate a candy bar and I'm sick or something. Yeah. How do I know what this is, and how do I know to find this person to get more, or what?
And what? And it shows kind of an ignorance of how opioids work.
How drugs even work. Yeah. Right?
I've taken opioids.
I would just be sick.
I've taken the first time you take opioids. If anyone who doesn't know, when you first take opioids, if you're kind of new to it, it doesn't make you feel great the first time you take it. It makes you feel nauseous, kind of your stomach hurts and stuff like that. You get constipated. You kind of have to, it takes a while to like it. Yeah,
it's like cigarettes. My first cigarette, I absolutely hated.
It's not like the first time you try a piece of fentanyl, like, oh my god, this is great. Wow, I need some more. Holy shit.
I know I love fentanyl.
I need specifically fentanyl, and I know exactly where I got it from. This candy bar, it's not how it works. It's not. I don't know how it works.
I actually don't know how it works, but I know that's not.
Yeah,
that's not the method.
But according to an article from WTRF, a local news station, in a post to social media, the Byesville Police Department said they were made aware of a, quote, suspicious candy bar from a child's candy bag from Byesville trick-or-treat on Monday night. They say the candy bar had a pin-sized hole in the wrapper. Byesville police conducted a field test which showed a presumptively positive result for methamphetamine fentanyl. However, police went to a store and bought another candy bar from the same brand, which also tested positive. The candy bar was sent to a testing facility in Ohio for a more definitive result. So, the cops release these results and say, you know what, it came out positive. All these candies coming up positive, but wait a few days for further results. Then a few days later, obviously, the results come back, and they both come back negative. Neither candy had any drugs in it or anything like that. The lab results. This is from the Daily Jeffersonian, I believe.
Do you inject fentanyl?
You can sniff it. You can take it in.
But okay, so you injected it into the candy bar, but you can't.
Oh,
then you eat it?
Eat it? I'm not sure.
Bruh, I don't know.
Yeah. So the Byesville Police Department was contacted with the laboratory results of a suspicious candy bar found during trick or treat. The lab results showed no fentanyl was found on or in the candy bar.
Obviously.
Further test shows a very small trace of amphetamine on the outside of the candy bar, but the amount that was tested positive is very small, and according to the lab, it was one of the weakest positives they had ever had.
Somebody just touched.
at most, yeah.
At most, the cop.
At most,
touched
yeah,
it,
exactly, yeah, and even that. So, I just want this shows you that when police say they do a drug test on something, you can't take it at face value or anything like that.
Not them field tests.
Yeah,
them field tests can be tampered with, and
even the lab tests can be can be faulty or whatever. So these aren't established facts. When a cop says we drug tested it and it came positive for methamphetamine and fentanyl, even that is suspect. So also, a child received the unopened candy bar with a pin-sized hole in the wrapper while trick-or-treating in the village. The mother of the child alerted the police department, which field tested the candy bar as well as the one purchased at a nearby gas station.
I don't believe that. But anyway.
So, yeah. Anyway, when it comes to the fentanyl, I mean, you really can't believe anything a cop says when it comes to fentanyl. The cops always lie about, supposedly overdosing from just being around within 5 feet of fentanyl. They're overdosing left and right. The back
of my hand grazed it a bit.
Yeah, so definitely don't anything when it comes to cops talking about fentanyl or drugs in general. Don't believe it. Basically. So next. Yeah. Next, real quick, the next two stories in the propaganda watch is there's these ads on the UK subway. Last time Elsa was here, we were talking about ads on the subway advertising for police to join up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But in the UK, they had an ad that was put up by people who were more critical of the police, and the ad says, "quote There really is no limit to what you can do at the Met. Cover for your predatory mates, harass every single one of your female colleagues, get away with domestic abuse, use stop and search to harass and assault women. Inspectors found widespread misogyny, sexism, predatory behavior towards women in every police force investigated. Enough. Inquiry now." So, I kind of like this little flip on the cops doing ads in the subway where, people like us, like,
I think it's effective because a lot of people are on the subway, a lot of people see it, and then when you sort of sneak it in or whatever, you might not even realize what you're looking at first, but the information hits your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thumbs up, 2 thumbs up for that. More of that, folks.
Yeah. Again,
all different ways. You don't always got to be the Molotov guy.
Yeah. And then I guess last story for the propaganda watch I want to talk about is Harry Siegel, who's an editor at the City of New York, posted a tweet recently from an excerpt from a Daily Beast article saying that the New York Post offered at least 2 crime victims front page coverage if they would say that they were Democrats who were voting for Lee Zeldin. Quote, Rupert Murdoch's New York Post, which served in effect as a vastly valuable independent expenditure for the Zeldin campaign, openly tried to make the news by crusading to elect a Republican challenger to statewide office in New York for the first time this century. Even telling 2 different crime victims I know of that their stories could make the cover if they say they were Democrats voting for Zeldin because the city is pretty much a hellhole now.
Yeah, okay.
So once again, last time we talked about the New York Post telling a reporter to go to the subways to look for people who were mad about fare beating
and couldn't find one.
And they couldn't find anybody. And the New York Post editors told them, no, you need to go and find people who hate the fare beaters. Here's another piece of evidence that the New York Post is a shitty fascist rag who will straight up spread lies because they will offer people front page news coverage if they just say, they're Democrats who want to vote for a fascist candidate because of the crime in New York, the crime panic nonsense. So,
please don't read them.
Yeah, exactly.
please don't read them.
So, special fuck you to the New York Post once again. Watch out for their propaganda. Also, real quick, there was a Pew report that came out recently that showed there was no increase in violent crime over the last few years. This was based on FBI stats and Bureau of Justice stats. So the crime panic narrative is bullshit. Don't believe the New York Post. Don't believe their sensationalist headlines.
Also, real quick about crime. If you are worried about crime, then we should be worried more so about the reasons why people commit crime.
Yes.
That's it. If you feel like there is a crime problem, which all stats say that they're not really, not more than before. Yeah. But
at most, it's very highly exaggerated. Yes, at the best,
it's highly exaggerated. But if that is a thing that you are worried about, fine. I'm not even saying that that's not a legitimate concern. Yeah. I'm just saying, if that's your concern, we got to follow the route back.
Yeah,
we can't just address it at the crime.
Yeah,
we can't just address it once the crime is committed. Let's try to figure out and stop it before it happens. And that's not by pouring more money into the police.
Yes.
That's we stop crime by making sure people's basic needs are met.
Exactly. Yeah.
That was it. I wouldn't commit a crime if my basic needs were met. I wouldn't hop the turnstile if I had money to pay for or the shit was free.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a simple ass solution. Yeah. So if we are worried about crime, then that is absolutely A-okay for you to do that. Trace it back to the root.
Yeah. And I think that's a good place to end it for this episode of the CopWatch Media Podcast. Once again, we were joined by Elsa. You have anything to plug? Plug it.
Find me on the dying social network Twitter. That is the
Fuck only, you, Elon. Yeah.
That is the only place I am, and I will play the violin until it breaks.
Elon, sell it to somebody competent, please.
It's too late. It's too late. But still, find me on Twitter at Elsa, just Elsa. Also, sign up for my comedy classes at the Tiny Cupboard through Gold Comedy. You can find that at Tiny Cupboard at the Tiny Cupboard and Gold Comedy at Gold Comedy. All right, cool.
And yeah, please help support us here at CopWatch Media as well. Donate, spread the links around. We're gonna try to keep this going as long as we can right now. So we wanna help people, especially Black and brown people, be able to talk about cops in their community. So please support us on our website, copwatch.media. And that's it for today. See you next time. Bye.